Why Californians are fleeing to Mexico. This is a suggestion via a donation, guys. Let's check it out. Let's see what this takes us, guys.
In 2021, over 360,000 people left California in what many are calling the California Exodus, leaving for states like Texas, Arizona, and Washington. But a rising number of them are migrating out of the country altogether and instead heading south of the border.
And honestly, most likely destroying all chances of anyone from there to actually be able to afford anything in that area. Right? They're completely wrecking the economy with that California money, bro.
Today,
in Mexico,
more and more Americans are leaving the hustle and bustle of California for a relaxed, more affordable lifestyle in Mexico.
We were able to cut our budget in half, which allowed us to really focus on our careers and the things we wanted to do artistically without having to just like hustle and hustle and hustle every day, every week, every month to just meet the bare minimum.
California's population
probably actually for the first time in their life save any type of meaningful amount of money.
Growth has been declining for over 30 years now. But thanks to the rise in remote work due to the COVID-19 pandemic, those trends have accelerated. The ability to work anywhere has 62% of Americans considering moving to a new country.
I will give it to you guys. Half the year I'm in Spain, half the year I'm in the United States of America, and I definitely tell you I still work in America even though I'm in Spain, guys. All right, there's no doubt here, right? Because American money is really good. It goes really far everywhere else, guys. Just keep that in mind. Whatever your situation is in the United States of America, trust me, it will tenfold. It will be much better anywhere else but here, guys.
What's the options, right? What, Kansas, Utah, whatever. I mean, really, it's the options aren't that great. I mean, especially if you're from California.
And while some Californians are able to make the move by working remotely, others are living in Mexico, but still commuting to work daily in California.
There's a lot of people commuting who actually live in Mexico, who actually work in the States. So it's thousands and thousands of people just crossing daily. It's a lot of people.
However, many critics argue that Americans are driving up the cost of housing for locals and pricing them out of the market.
Is that even an argument, bro?
So just how long will this migration trend last? And what are the consequences?
Consequences specifically for people coming from California. If we're referring to like a sudden downturn the last 30 years, it's almost obvious every single thing California represents has honestly pushed California into nothingness. Every single thing that they have pushed over the last 30 years, guys. So what's going to end up happening is that they're going to go to all these new places and then try to push all of their stuff into whatever area they're going to, then ruin that area just like they ruined the place they left, guys. That's why when the governor was like, listen, if you want to leave California, sure, leave, but you're still going to pay our taxes here, right? That's what, that's well worth it. Just stay in California with your Hollywood guys and all that other stuff. Keep it there.
When it comes to U.S.-Mexico migration, most Mexicans move to the U.S. to improve their lives economically. But a lesser-known fact is that historically, Americans have flocked to Mexico for the same reason.
Yeah, a long time.
After Mexico won its
but much smaller numbers, guys.
Independence from Spain in 1821, thousands of legal and illegal American immigrants settled into northern Mexico in search of land, trade, and agricultural opportunity. And when Mexico abolished slavery in 1829, a few routes of the Underground Railroad ran south into Mexican Texas. It's estimated that about 5,000 to 10,000 slaves escaped into Mexico. By the mid-1840s, Americans outnumbered Mexican Californios in the northern part of Alta California, which was Mexican territory at the time. Shortly after, the California Gold Rush began, and 30,000 people from all over the world poured into California in search of treasures. Just days after the California Gold Rush began, the Mexican-American War ended, giving California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, Nevada, and Utah to the U.S. It wasn't until 1924 that the U.S. Border Patrol was created, and since then, millions of Americans have visited, vacationed, and relocated to Mexico. As of 2020, 800,000 Americans are living in Mexico. These migrants can be divided into 3 categories: retirees, working professionals, and the biggest share of the population, the Mexican Americans returning to their roots.
There's also a parallel migration, of course, from U.S. citizen children that are being returned or that are returning to Mexico with their parents, who many of them are Mexican citizens and are being either repatriated or deported to Mexico as well. These U.S. citizens make up about 2/3 of the U.S. immigrant population in Mexico, and so therefore their futures and the children growing up and integrating into Mexican society is an important factor.
The rising migration of U.S. citizens is giving way to increasing investments and development, which in turn creates opportunity for more Americans to make the move. The rising cost of living is perhaps one of the biggest.
Listen, a lot of people are going to be leaving, guys, unfortunately. With the current state of the level of inflation that the United States of America has been going through, guys, a lot of people will end up starting to look outwards, and that's a great idea, guys. Remember, you are not landlocked, guys. You're not. You can go somewhere else. That will well, how about this, where your money will go a lot further, and Mexico definitely is the place, on honestly many places in Europe also.
Drivers behind this phenomenon. California ranks number 2 in the country's most expensive states to live in, according to a study by Credit Karma.
For our 1-bedroom apartment in North Hollywood, we were paying $1,600 a month, and that was just for the rent alone. And there we had a car, so that included car insurance and car payment and all of those kinds of things that you have to pay for. And so just the rent alone, we're paying half of that.
We moved in November of 2020, so it was still kind of like in...
I'll give you guys an example. In Spain, my first apartment was in the city of Malaga, in Andalusia, like literally in the direct center of the city, downtown, right? 372 euros. I think at that time it was maybe like 380 or something like that, dollars. 1 bedroom, bathroom, literally in the middle of the city. Guys, so yeah, go, guys, it's time to start looking elsewhere. I think we have expended as much as we possibly could, get, unfortunately, from this country.
In the thick
large scale at least.
COVID-19 and the pandemic before the vaccines. So our rent is about $850 a month. Which includes 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a music studio for David. We have a pool and a clubhouse area, 24-hour security with a guard at a gate. Going from a 1-bedroom where we were like on top of each other to having different spaces to work has been like life-changing.
And to do that half of the price was mind-blowing. Real
estate in California is getting more expensive and more competitive. The median price for a home in California is about $800,000. Only 25% of California households could afford that in the fourth quarter of 2021.
Here in Baja, we offer a more affordable alternative, bigger prices, and what a lot of people tend to say is that we have a better quality of life. There's no traffic.
Oh, yes.
Sunny day.
No, listen. All of what he's saying is great, but the quality of life is probably just going to be, listen, I can work less and get more than I could at home. That's basically the most valuable thing you could probably say to an American. All these other things, great, amazing. How would you like to pay half, right, of everything you pay or less?
There's beautiful beaches.
Unlike the jobs in California, Mexico's wages are low and labor is cheap. The minimum wage in California is $15 per hour, while the minimum wage in the majority of Mexico is 172 pesos per day, which is equivalent to about $8. For comparison, 1 hour of working in California is equivalent to almost 2 whole work days in Mexico.
And we do want to say, like, we understand how lucky and fortunate we are to be able to earn in
Make
dollars
American
and
money,
spend in
yeah.
pesos. So we do recognize that that's like an incredible privilege.
It's a gift.
We feel
It's a gift,
super
no doubt.
grateful to be here and to be able to do that.
Healthcare is another important factor that many consider when moving to Mexico. The U.S. spends much more on healthcare than any other country in the world. But one study showed that overall, its performance and quality ranks last among the highest income countries.
Right.
You know,
So that means that they're just making up prices. And that's the stage of capitalism we are in currently in the United States of America. It's crazy, guys.
dental work and stuff like that. I mean, Mexico's responsible for saving my teeth.
I went to an allergist in LA and was told I did not have enough money to afford the allergy shots that I actually needed. And that was one of the first appointments I made in Mexico was with an allergist and a dermatologist. And not only can I afford allergy shots here, but like my allergist coordinates with the dermatologist who coordinates with our primary care physician.
Yeah, I had to get hard contacts and braces. I felt very cared for, and it was very easy to access these kinds of things that
like there's a myth that goes around America, right? That says healthcare, the reason why it's so cheap everywhere else is because it's terrible. We're the best. Bro, we are not the best in this. Guys, there are so many other countries where you can go to and spend a tenth of whatever you think you're about to spend, right? And get better care and treatment. Fact. At one time, I'm sure, guys, but not in the lifetime that I've lived, guys. I was born in the 80s, 86 to be exact, guys. And I was already born into it failing, guys. So, all right, let's get it.
I know I could not get the contacts that I needed because they were so expensive in the States, and we thankfully were able to do that here.
Since the pandemic, migration trends to Mexico have accelerated. COVID-19 has made remote work the new normal, prompting many to move out of big cities and into more affordable ones.
The pandemic really changed the dynamic, but because folks suddenly, you know, the cost of taxes in the U.S., the crime rates, the politics, all the things that people are unhappy with in California are wanting to come down to Mexico and suddenly realizing, gee, I can, you know, as long as I got good internet, I can come to Mexico and live in a condo and stare at the ocean and take care of my work and enjoy a different lifestyle.
100%. Guys, I am all for everyone leaving. At least for like a year of your life. You'll get it. You'll be like, okay, hold on. Whatever we think that we're doing here is wrong, bro. It is wrong. And one time it was right. But whatever this is now, it's not sustainable.
It's the U.S.-Mexico border in Tijuana. Every day, about 200,000 people commute between the two countries. Many of them work in California and live just below the border in Baja California due to its proximity. Take Tony Smith, for example. She works in San Diego, but lives 9 miles away in Tijuana.
I still work in the States. I'm
of all places
a coach over at a community college, and all of my business is in the States. So I commute daily back and forth.
The wait to get through the border ranges from a few minutes to a few hours. To avoid the longer wait times during rush hour, Tony drops her car off in a parking structure by the border and walks the rest of the way.
On days that are not heavy traffic, I'll drive. And then days where it's really like hectic, like the average, like Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, those are the busy days. I will leave my car and I'll just walk. It's easy getting into Mexico. It's just the difficult part, getting out of Mexico.
Of course.
Which can take hours.
Of course.
But I learned if I could just commute by foot, it drops my commute time at least by 2 hours.
Real estate agents in Baja California are also seeing an increase in people looking to buy property who don't necessarily want permanent residency in Mexico.
I would say at least half are probably coming down from California. There's a lot of folks that have second homes down here, vacation homes and or rental properties down here that come from Southern California.
Critics of this migration trend say that Americans are buying or renting property in Mexico at a premium and pricing locals out of the market.
certain neighborhoods are now becoming too expensive for Mexican citizens to live in, because most of the times people that are actually buying these property developments or buying even, say, an apartment are being able to do so because they either make money in US dollars or because they're working remotely.
For those on temporary visas, working remotely allows them to continue paying their taxes to the US without paying any to Mexico. And there are some parts of Mexico known as the Torres Libre Zone, where visas go unchecked, under the radar. The idea is that
guys, this happens all day long in Spain, guys. Like, there's a place in Spain. I'm not going to go ahead and start saying the name of the place, right? But there's literally a village somewhere in one of the mountain ranges, right, where almost the whole town is American. Okay, they are not supposed to be there. I'm just going to tell you this right now. They are all illegal Americans, 100%, bro. And it's just like, wow, I am in America, in Spain, but none of these people are really, they're not permanent residents. They're not reporting their money back to the States, guys. None of that. They're not doing none of that, bro. To America, they're just, I don't know, living in their house in Colorado. Right, but it's crazy, bro.
Americans who spend their money in Mexico are still contributing to the country's economic growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a dog-eat-dog world, and I get why a lot of Mexicans, they want better for their families, so they're trying to get across the border to America, while the Americans are doing the total opposite. I feel as though like the money that we're bringing in can definitely help build better roads. We're just definitely helping the economy.
But it's not. It's not because you're going there and not paying any taxes.
Bringing in the dollars so that they can put it into, whatever it is that they want to put it into.
It's super important to us to mitigate our economic impact.
Just like that. Order food every single day. Just like that. Why? Because it's like $3, guys.
So when we try to do that by highlighting
it's like
groups and services,
more expensive to cook,
and
sometimes
of where we spend our money.
Some argue the communities where Americans are moving to are not the same as the ones where locals reside. Those areas have less crime, are more expensive, and tend to be closer to beaches and other tourist attractions.
The foreigners or the Americans are only going to live in certain places.
Right.
And these places
to the standards.
Are primarily targeted towards Americans. The local Tijuana people are not going to live in these places. Like there's high-rise buildings and stuff like that. The apartment I had last time that had a full desk set up for remote working, office chair, everything. This was not something set up for a Mexican family. This was something set up to target foreigners to come over and work remotely.
While American dollars have contributed to recent developments in Mexico, there are some setbacks to the rapid expansion.
Go ahead.
Supply chain issues are rising as demand beats out supply.
It's making development increase, certainly, but it's also making development be less accessible to some of their most needed areas. Like in California, for example, where we have really a shortage of housing, which has actually led to the significant increase in prices in California. There's a similar bubble of lack of new construction in Mexico. And when that construction is focused on unattainable incomes for Mexican citizens, you're in some ways perpetuating the same bubble that we're seeing in California for housing, but now in Mexico as well.
Right.
In order to
So you get the point here. California, you're leaving California for half the rate, obviously, right? To live at half whatever your monthly rate is. But now you're going to another place and doing the same thing immediately, right? Like the nerve the woman has to basically say, oh, I wish we could fix the roads. Bro, you're in a different place. You have to kind of get used to whatever that is, bro, right? So in a village that I currently live in Spain, one of the main roads that brings you into the village itself is literally not paved, guys, all right? You have to get with the area, fit in. Don't change what you don't have right to change, if that makes any sense, guys.
Combat the number of low-income Californians leaving the state, affordable housing developments are beginning to make headway. In September of 2021, California's governor signed a series of bills to complement the California Comeback Plan, which invests $22 billion in affordable housing and homelessness. The wealthy are leaving California too.
Oh yeah, yeah, bro. If I had a company, well, I do have a company, but if my company was in California, like, bro, I would leave so fast. No chance. Like, I'm sitting here complaining about, like, my company, my corporation is based in the state of Georgia, and I already complain enough about that, bro. I'm like, listen, where else can we go? Can we base the company somewhere else, bro? Maybe Florida, right? Just don't live there, type of thing, guys, right? Or even Dubai or Ireland, guys. I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out soon, though, but I definitely will never be California, bro. California is never going to work for corporations, bro.
Fear that mass departures by the state's billionaires and tech companies could reduce local and state tax revenues.
It will.
Just 1% of California's top income earners are responsible for half of all income tax revenue. Those drops could have the potential to affect government services for years to come. And in Baja California,
it will.
Recent spikes in housing demand could cause
not
the
a good
country
thing,
to run out
right?
of supply.
But
I've talked to a lot of agents down here and folks that have been in this industry, 20 years or more. And a lot of them are all saying, this is the first time in the last 20 years that people are really significantly worried about our lack of inventory down here. There's a lot more things being built and trying to come up with things to sell to people.
As Mexico sees an influx of immigrants and increasing housing prices, there are mixed opinions about the future of current U.S.-Mexico migration trends.
But at the same time, it's bringing, opening up new businesses. It's driving money into Mexico. It's, it's creating tourism and money for small businesses. People are still going to be wanting to come down here more than ever. And I don't see prices going down anytime soon.
A good amount of the people that actually go and do this, try this, do return home within 90 days. Maybe your boss don't like this. Maybe your car registration don't like this. There is problems that exist for doing this.
Of course.
So the turnover rate for this is pretty quick.
Meaning that they're quitters. Guys, my first 90 days in Europe, in Spain specifically, they were troubling. Okay. You have to get through all these cultural differences and kind of understand the cultural norms, guys. Like, you just have to be able to kind of change and kind of fit in, right? Listen, they don't want your registration. Okay, leave your car. You're in California, bro. You're from California. I'm pretty sure you could buy something down there if that's the case, okay? And for a lot less of the cost. It's probably going to be manual. Just let's let you know right now. But just understand that you need to do things how they do things, okay?
For now, Californians are continuing to leave the state, and Mexico is welcoming them with open arms.
Of course. Guys, listen, I've expected this for a long time. And obviously, since a lot of Californians are going to Texas and Florida, guys, and Georgia, guys, we're full. All right, us on the East Coast, we're full. Please, we don't need that nonsense. California's a beautiful state, right? It's just that there's just so much of just like weirdness that goes on there, bro. All right, and we don't really want that weirdness over here. But mainly, let's in all seriousness, mainly, it's their money, right? The last thing we want is someone from California or New York to come to some random small town in the South, okay, and start buying up land, okay, or houses, paying $200,000-$400,000 over the actual asking price. Now, that house now has a comp, right? People are gonna use that house as a comp for other houses in the area, which then in return is gonna raise up all of the property value in the area. And now the people that have been living there forever can no longer afford it because this one or let's say this family of my brother, sister, and a cousin moved from California after selling their literally nothing house for $1 million to come to the South and buy a house that's worth maybe $150,000 to $200,000, and then paying $600,000 for it. All of them do that because they want to live right next to each other, right? Let's say, and now every house in the neighborhood is going to have be able to be sold that's somewhere around there based off of whatever that house was that they bought it for, guys, based off the comp price, guys. So please stay in California with your California money, bro. All right, you're ruining America. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.